Hello, and welcome to another edition of Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Tonight, we will have some volleyball, men's and women's soccer, and everything Marquette basketball. Golden Eagle Sports Report starts right now.
Good evening, Marquette. I'm Shane Hogan.
And I'm Amy Galashewski. Let's kick it off with some women's volleyball.
Over the weekend, the Marquette women's volleyball team played host to the Creighton Blue Jays and the Providence Friars. The Golden Eagles fell to number 10 Creighton 3-1 after forcing a fourth set, 25-22. The loss against the Blue Jays snapped an impressive 9-game winning streak for the squad. On Saturday, the Golden Eagles bounced back to their old ways, taking down the Friars in straight sets. The win marked the Golden Eagles' 20th win of the season, an accomplishment achieved over the previous 9 seasons. Junior Allie Barber led the team with 19 kills and just 1 error for a .548 hitting percentage.
I don't know if we can out-defend them. They're a really good defensive team, and that has not been our strength. I think we made some plays, better than the last time we played them. I thought we did some things better than the last time we played them, but I still think their defense held us under what we do, and our defense didn't hold them under what they do. So I think they won on both sides of the ball. I do think serve and pass, we're even right there. Which is why games are close a lot of times, but I just think they out-defended and out-attacked us. Creighton's hitters do a really good job of moving the ball around and testing every gap on the floor, and then when they dig it and keep bringing swings at it, it allows them 4 or 5 swings to try and find an open spot. So the easier solution is once we dig one is just kill the next one. We're not terrified being down 0-2. It's just a matter of trying to have some fun towards the comeback, and that just sputtered in game 4.
And with that, we want to bring in our volleyball analyst, Dan Abington. Dan, thank you for being here.
Always great being here.
Well, Dan, the Marquette women's volleyball team snapped their impressive 9-game winning streak Friday against the number 10 Creighton Blue Jays. What went wrong for the squad in this matchup?
Well, to be honest with you, Amy, everything went wrong. They weren't attacking well, they weren't defending well, they weren't passing well, they weren't serving well. They couldn't find the floor on any of their attacks, and they just couldn't defend the powerful Creighton attack. I mean, there's a reason why Creighton's the number 9 team in the nation currently, and why Marquette's at number 19 now, and they were at 18. Creighton's just a phenomenal team, and you realize at times like that the difference between a top 10 team and just a top 25 team, because Creighton just completely outplayed Marquette.
So maybe an off night on Friday, but then on Saturday the team bounced back against Providence and looked like themselves again. What went right for them?
I mean, they did a complete 360. Everything went right in that game, and they were passing well, they were finding the floor, they were defending well. I mean, I think that was the biggest thing. With Anna Hawk out, one of the outside hitters who actually normally patrols the back line, weirdly, for an outside hitter, they decided to go with 2 setters to start the game, and then they rotated in defensive specialists as the game went along, and that allowed them to take a bit more of a defensive approach to the game, which we haven't really seen from them a lot. And Allie Barber was the only one taking big swings, and that turned out really well. She had the 19 kills, as you mentioned, and once Allie Barber gets on a roll, your team's not going to lose.
So that was coming off the team's 20th win this season. It was a clean sweep. What does that do for their mentality going into a 4-game road trip starting on Friday?
I mean, it's absolutely huge. It's a really big road trip. They have 4 road games against Big East opponents. They have Villanova and then Georgetown on Friday, then Saturday. So they're flying from Milwaukee to Philadelphia, and then they have to get down to D.C. in one day. And that's an afternoon game, too, on Saturday against Georgetown. So it's not an easy travel. And then the week after, they have a 4-day trip. So they play on Friday and then Sunday, and then they finally come back here to Wisconsin Avenue. So it's a really tough road trip for them. And none of the opponents that they have are easy. I mean, Providence is statistically the worst team in the league, so that helps them out a little bit. Right. They gained a little bit of confidence this past weekend. But Villanova is a pretty good team. Georgetown, pretty decent. They were actually at number 2 earlier on in the year, and then the next weekend they have Xavier. And Xavier's a pretty good team who took Creighton to 5 sets, as a matter of fact. So it's going to be a tough road trip, but I think this win absolutely propels them to some momentum.
Thank you for being here, Dan. Always great to have your insights.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're talking some men's and women's soccer. So don't go anywhere, because Golden Eagles Sports Report will be right back. Welcome back to Golden Eagles Sports Report. Once again, I'm Amy Galashewski.
And I'm Shane Hogan. It's been a while since we discussed the men's soccer team. Over the past few weeks, the Golden Eagles have played a total of 4 matches. The squad took down the St. John's Red Storm and Xavier Musketeers, both of those wins coming at home. The team then headed to Omaha, where they were defeated by the number 19 Creighton Blue Jays. Finally, Marquette headed south Sunday afternoon for a battle with the Butler Bulldogs. The Golden Eagles emerged victorious despite playing with 10 men for a majority of the second half. The final score was 2-1.
With the Golden Eagles' victory over the Bulldogs, the team clinched its first Big East tournament berth since 2014. Here's what head coach Louis Bennett had to say on his team's impressive accomplishment on Sunday afternoon.
We're here with Coach Louis Bennett after a 2-1 victory over Butler. Coach, how did the win feel?
Feels great, away from home. Marvelous. I'm really happy for the lads. I think the story is probably the tale of two Luises. He makes 2 absolutely fantastic saves in the first 20 minutes when we were not at our best and Butler were putting to us, and he comes up and keeps us in the game, and then he tries to take one for the lads in the first 2 minutes of the second half, and it doesn't work out for him, and he gets ejected, and then our lads had to really battle, and battle they really did. If it were a boxing match, we took a couple of really hard hits, but we didn't go down. And I think Cedric stepped into goal and did a really nice job. I mean, the first time he had to do anything was pick the ball out the back of the net for a penalty, and then from then on he kept the ball out of the net, which was really good. But it wasn't just a one-man deal. I think we brought 24 players, and I think for the first time I really felt that all 24 were really invested in us winning. Right down to our super duper managers as well. So I think everyone needs credit. Lisa did a great job in getting 2 players back from injury that probably we didn't think we were going to have, and you don't take people on the road to be passengers, and I think we did a marvellous job. Really proud of our lads, and I'm happy for the staff, happy for the players, happy for everyone that we've managed to clinch a playoff spot. Now, I mean, it's not over. Regular season's not over, and after our 4-hour journey back, we have to start thinking about that.
Perfect. Thanks, Coach.
We would now like to welcome in one of our men's and women's soccer analysts, Maddie Adams. Maddie, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Pleasure to be here.
So Marquette won 3 out of their 4 games most recently. Maddie, what are your thoughts on the team's recent stretch of success?
Yeah, so the team's been doing really well lately. The two most important games have been against St. John's and then their most recent game, Butler. Going into the game against St. John's, Marquette was ranked 5th in the Big East and St. John's was ranked 4th, so it should have been a really tight matchup, but Marquette ended up winning 4-0, which then moved their rankings in the Big East, so Marquette is now 4th and St. John's is 5th. And then in their most recent game against Butler, they won 2-1, which clinched their Big East appearance, and it was their first on-the-road game since October of last year. So it shows how well they're gelling towards the end of the season to be able to get that on-the-road win.
You mentioned them clinching their playoff spot, their first since 2014. What do you think this accolade does for the team as they finish up the regular season?
Yeah, so they have one more regular season game on Wednesday against DePaul, and I think that it just adds confidence to the team. Obviously, a winning streak does that for any team, but I think that the fact that they can focus on this last regular season game, knowing that they have a spot in the Big East tournament, is going to take a lot of pressure off of the team.
Well, Maddie, Marquette has one final game left before the postseason begins. The squad will host the DePaul Blue Demons on Halloween at 7:05. Maddie, what are your expectations for the Golden Eagles as they conclude their regular season at the Valley on senior night?
Like I said, yeah, I think that the fact that they already have a spot in the Big East tournament takes a lot of pressure off of this game. If this game was the deciding factor of them making the tournament or not, I think it would be a much bigger game. But I think that the fact that they have the spot in the tournament, they can just focus on this individual game. It's senior night, like you said, so hopefully they can pull out a win to finish the regular season.
So moving on to women's soccer, the Golden Eagles also played 4 games over the past few weeks. The squad lost consecutive games against Xavier and Georgetown, but managed to tie Creighton. For their final game of the season, the team defeated the Seton Hall Pirates 4-0. Our own Jack Phillips was on hand to recap the action.
One final game. That was the motivation for the Marquette women's soccer team heading into their final game of the season Thursday night.
I'm kind of happy just for the moment tonight. You know, obviously for us it's been a challenge this year. You know, a lot of things didn't fall into place we wish they would have. You know, so for us to come out here, last game of the year, senior night, you know, and open at the end, you're kind of like opening the game up and scoring with having a couple of goals at the end by a couple of seniors. You know, that's kind of like a sweet moment to the season.
The squad was officially eliminated last Sunday from the Big East tournament, but that didn't stop the Golden Eagles from scoring 4 goals against the Seton Hall Pirates on senior night.
Yeah, I couldn't have had a better ending, I guess. Just the way the season went, it was unfortunate, but it really came full circle, and I'm just so happy right now for this team and the rest of the seniors. It's just so surreal. I was so happy when that happened, so happy for my team. It was just such a great way to end the season.
The season may have concluded a little earlier than the team had hoped, but Coach Roders couldn't have been more proud of the seniors and the rest of his team's performance in their final match of the 2018 season.
You know, I'm happy for our group. I think you could kind of see the joy of you know, what winning is like and scoring some goals, and we didn't have a whole lot of that this year. So, you know, we gotta move forward, kind of let this sink in a little bit, close the book, and you know, thank our seniors. And you know, I think we got a quality side of young players still around that we can grow with and move forward.
Reporting from Valley Fields, Jack Phillips, Marquette Wire Sports.
Well, Maddie, clearly not the season Coach Roders and the girls wanted and hoped for, but what do you think went wrong for them from the start and really hurt their chances to get back on track?
I think it all came down to the beginning of their season. They had a couple losses right in the beginning, and I think after that it was just hard for them to get back up on their feet and build momentum. But for, like they said, in the last game, they had known that they weren't going to be in the tournament at that point, but I thought it was really, really admirable that they still went into that game and ended up winning 4-0. And since it was senior night, there was a goal from Heather Handwerk and one from Carrie Madden as seniors. So I thought that was really nice that the girls could still finish the season on a good note.
As the team won't see any action for a while now, what do you think the Golden Eagles should be working on over the offseason?
In majority of their losses this season, in the box scores, it was all shutouts. So I think that obviously shows that the team needs to work on finishing. I think the defense is really strong, but the offensive buildup, I think they need a lot of work on that, and then the finishing will come. And I think that they have a lot of returners, which will help. And now that they all know each other and how they play better, I think it'll work out a lot better next season. And hopefully the girls can use this season, even though it didn't go as they planned, as motivation to do better next year.
Maddie, thanks for your insights.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we're talking some Marquette basketball. So don't change the channel because Golden Eagles Sports Report, we'll be right back.
It's almost here, Marquette basketball fans.
That's right. In less than 24 hours, the men's basketball team will take the Pfizer Forum for the first time against an opponent when they play the Carroll College Pioneers in an exhibition match.
And on Thursday, the women will play host to the Grand Valley State in another exhibition match. Now, Shane, before we get to the men's team, let's discuss the reigning Big East regular season champion, the women's team.
This morning was actually media day for the Lady Golden Eagles. Check out what head coach Carolyn Keeger and more had to say about her team.
The underclassmen are ready to step up to the challenge. I think you'll see a deeper team than you've ever seen from us before, which is going to allow us to do a lot of different things lineup-wise. Obviously, offensively, we're very excited to see what the depth can provide for us. And then defensively, I think we spent a lot of time this summer fixing our weaknesses, and I think our team has a new sense of hunger when it comes to protecting the paint and really, fixing our defensive field goal percentages and our rebounding numbers. And then culturally, I just think we're at a really great place right now. Our team is in a very positive state, and their chemistry is better than it's ever been.
We was the youngest team at one point, so now being one of the more veteran teams, it just feel like we've been there before. A lot of players haven't, so it's like instead of nervous or being anxious or anything, it's like we falling back on confidence from previous seasons.
Came to Marquette, I knew when I was playing with these girls, I was not going to only have teammates, but a sisterhood that we have for the rest of our lives. So, it's bittersweet. This is our last year, but we're trying to make the best of it. We have great chemistry. We have a lot of fun off the court, and I'm just excited to go out and compete every day with these girls.
We now welcome in women's basketball analyst Nicole Talahach. Any fun Halloween plans, Nicole?
I'm going out with some of my friends, Shane. I'm excited about that night.
Sounds fun. All right, Nicole, we're going to try out a special Halloween-themed game for tonight's show. It's called Trick or Treat.
Okay. Basically, Shane and I are going to read you a statement about the women's basketball team for the upcoming season.
If you disagree with the statement, you'll say trick.
And if you agree with the statement, you'll say treat and explain to us why you chose that. Sounds good?
Sounds fun to me.
All right, Nicole, here's your first one. Alizea Blockton will three-peat as the Big East Player of the Year. Trick or treat?
I'm going to have to say treat on this. She's one of my favorite players. She started off scoring 15, 17 points as a freshman, and now she's up after her junior year, has a season high of 29 points in her career. She finished off last year as the leading scorer for the Marquette women's basketball team, and she is actually the 4th leading all-time scorer for Marquette's women's team in their history, so I don't see any reason. She's been improving every season, why it wouldn't go that way again.
Next one. The women's team will finish the year as Big East champs and advance to the Elite 8 in the tournament. Trick or treat?
I'm going to have to say treat again. We have a great women's team. Carolyn Keeger set up a whole group and kind of rebuilt the women's team a few years ago. And this group are now seniors, and so they worked together for the past couple of years. They know each other. They know how to bounce off their strengths and weaknesses. But frankly, I don't think this team has a weak link.
All right, last one, Nicole. There's a lot of talk surrounding freshman Chloe Mirada, the #1 recruit from Wisconsin. Here it is. Chloe Mirada wins Big East Freshman of the Year this season. Trick or treat?
I'm going to have to say trick on this one. I hope she can prove me wrong, but she was an amazing player in her high school career. She scored her 1,000th point by her junior year. I know her dad played here. Her brother's on the men's basketball team here currently. However, she did not play her senior year of high school due to an ACL injury, so I don't think she's going to be able to bounce back from that right away. I think she's going to need some more time to get into that college level experience and learn from other players like Natisha Heidman, Danielle King, and Isaiah Alea, as we decided before.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you.
The women's team certainly has high expectations this season, as they've had in the past few seasons.
But you know, Amy, the men's team has some high hopes as well. They were ranked 27th in the country in the AP preseason poll.
And also picked by the Big East coaches to finish second in conference play, only to the defending national champs, Villanova.
Let's bring in our analyst, Nick Galley, to enter the men's basketball conversation.
Well, Nick, I think you got a pretty good look at Nicole playing trick or treat. So are you ready to do this?
I'm so ready for this. I've been waiting all day, so let's get to it.
Trust me, I think Nick knows a thing or two about trick or treating. He's got this.
Well, then let's get started. First one for you, Nick. Marquette finishes top 2 in the Big East this season. Trick or treat?
I'm definitely going to have to go treat on this one. I mean, really the only other competition they have in the Big East is Villanova this season. Villanova obviously coming off of the conference championship last season, so they're going to be ready for this season, as is Marquette though. I think one thing Marquette has to really take advantage of is the fact that Villanova may be looking for some new leaders. They lost Dante DiVincenzo to the NBA this past offseason. He's playing right down the street with the Bucks now, so I think Marquette has to capitalize on that. They're not the best team in the Big East right now. Villanova is. But what's beautiful about this is Marquette has a chance to be the best team in the Big East, so I think they're definitely going to finish top 2, no doubt about it.
Everyone knows by now that the star guard on this team is Marcus Howard. He was unanimously picked to the preseason first team All-Big East. How about this one, Nick? Marcus Howard wins Big East Player of the Year. Trick or treat?
I'm going to go treat again, Shane. I mean, there are some competitors in the Big East. You got Shamari Pons at St. John's. He averaged just shy of 22 points last season, and he's going to have a little bit slighter of a workload this year, so his efficiency could go up, numbers could go up as well. So he's going to be the top competitor for Marcus Howard, I think, but Howard is just an unbelievable shooter. Unbelievable. I mean, video game numbers we're talking. He shot 40% from the three-point line last year. You shoot 30% from the arc, and you're considered an elite three-point shooter. So you're shooting 40%. I mean, I can't even imagine how you even do that. Not to mention he shot 94% from the free throw line. So Marcus Howard, he knows how to shoot, he knows how to score. That's really going to help him. Another guy I'm looking at is Kamar Baldwin of Butler. A lot of guys aren't really looking at him, but I think he could have a great season for them. But again, going back to Howard's shooting and the ability of this Marquette team as a whole, I think Marcus Howard definitely has a shot at winning Big East Player of the Year.
And with Andrew Rousey gone too, his efficiencies could go up as well.
Sure,
Do you think that'll play into it?
You look back last year and you had that clashing of Rousey and Howard. So now with Rousey gone, you know, going off to bigger and better things, Howard's the leader of this team. There's no doubt about that. And I think Howard's really going to benefit for that. As you mentioned, Shane, his efficiency is going to go right up. He's going to get more looks, more shots. So you got to throw that into the factor there. And I think Howard's going to have a great season for this team.
One talking point for this season is that the team has a lot more depth than in the past. Last year, the only double-figure scorers on average were Howard, Rousey, and Hauser. So what do you think about this, Nick? Marquette will have 5 different players average double-digit points this season. Trick or treat?
I hate to say it, but I'm going to have to go Trick here. I mean, I think 5 is just a little too high of a number for double-digit scores. You know Howard's going to get double digits. You know that Hauser's going to get double digits.
Yep.
But after that, there's a drop-off. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know how the rotation's going to play out. I don't know who's going to get more minutes. Keep in mind, Gregory Elliott out till December with the injury he just suffered on the surgery. So we're going to have to see what happens there. One thing I just want to point out is, in my opinion, there's 2 types of greatness. You have the one type of greatness and success where all 5 guys in the starting lineup are scoring double-digit points.
Yeah.
Then you have the bench that's, you know, they're contributing a little bit, but they're really not winning you games. And then you have that other type of greatness where you got 2 or 3 guys on the team leading the way, 20-plus points, 25-plus points, whatever you want to say, and then the bench is contributing as well, and they're really helping you win games. If you want to give an NBA comparison, Golden State does that first method, Boston Celtics, that second method. And I think Marquette's really going to have to focus on that second method this year, especially with the amount of young talent in this team. So I think they're going to go more towards that direction, and that's why I don't see this team having 5 double-digit scores, but still going to be a great season for them.
Bonus question for you, Nick.
Let's hear it, Shane.
The freshmen and transfers coming to Marquette play a huge role on this season.
Yeah.
Trick or treat?
This is really tough, Shane. This is really tough. I'm going to say trick, though, because I just think the older guys are going to have to develop them a little bit more.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be an immediate, they come out and start doing it. We'll see. Maybe we'll have to do another Halloween show or trick or treat and see what happens later on in the season. But coming out of the gate, I think they have to mature a little bit because I know we mentioned a few episodes ago that Big East basketball is a completely different brand of basketball than high school, much more aggressive and physical, defensive, offensive. It's everything.
Right.
And I think the young guys are just going to have to get their feet in the water there, get their toes in the water, and get used to it before they can make any significant changes. You know, hopefully we get to the tournament this year. If we do, I think that's when we can see these young guys stepping up, playing a huge role. So,
Nick, as always, some great insights and always a pleasure having you on.
Thank you, Shane.
Well, that's all the time we have tonight. Thank you for joining us on Golden Eagle Sports Report. I'm Shane Hogan.
And I'm Amy Galashewski. Happy Halloween. Good night, Marquette.